It was the Calcio Guys Derby weekend between Derby del Giannini and Derby del Nicolas Adriano. We don't have a name for that yet. It was lots to talk about. Gianni Adriano and Nicholas, plus some dog sounds from Gianni's house. But guys, how you doing?
Not bad, not bad. You guys?
Can't complain.
I'm not gonna unmute because of the dog.
We have to get Toby on.
Hold on, let me see. The thing is, I can't bring him into my room because my cat's in the room and she's gonna start hissing and attacking him.
We don't need any more animal sounds in this on the podcast.
It could be our first animal guest, though. Oh no, we've had cats on. Jenny's brought his cats on.
There you go. Nebbia is here. Nebbia is here.
Serie A, Derby del Giannini, Napoli-Roma, perfect result for you, Gianni. You know, people always say, who do you cheer for? They always ask, who do you cheer for when Napoli and Roma play? Here you go, 2-2, perfect result. Back and forth game, Dybala on the pen, Oliveira, and then Osimhen on the pen to give Napoli the lead, and then Ibrahim right at the end, 80th minute. It was on a corner, no? That the tying goal. You know, even if you look at the stats, I mean, Napoli did dominate in shots 9-4, but possession 48-52 in favor of Roma. But I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, Gianni, but this was your derby, so you could take it from both sides.
Yeah, no, I did have a chance to watch it. I was doing work while I was watching it, and honestly speaking, I love how you said it's a perfect result for both sides when it's actually not. Both sides would have preferred to have the W at that point. You wanted to walk away with a win and get those 3 points, especially for the race for Roma trying to squeeze back into the top 4, even though the top 5 is considered part of the Champions League now, and Napoli trying to get into a European spot. You know, that's very key for them to get into some kind of European competition next year. For either team, it wasn't an ideal result. Sure, you get a point, but like Napoli's tied with Fiorentina, but Fiorentina's got a game in hand. Roma, now they're 4 points behind Bologna for the top 4 spot. It was tough. This game, it felt like, you know, it was Roma's to steal versus Napoli's to lose. Even though possession wise, it was still like it was somewhat even. Expected goals for Napoli was like really high. I think it was like near 3, you know, like and Roma was like 1.5. Like it was low. It wasn't a game that you know, like Napoli didn't finish on their chances. Villar came out big for Roma, which was very key for them because he kept them in there. I think honestly speaking, like the penalty calls for both sides were valid in my eyes. Renato Sanchez's one was lazy. You know, like it was a silly error, and it goes to show that his minutes are limited because of decisions like that, which is unfortunate because Sanchez has got a lot of potential, a lot of talent, but he's just pissing it away. Tammy coming back is great and getting a goal for his motivation, especially after being out for a long time, you know, like finally getting back into form, getting to the rhythm of things, finding the back of the net against Napoli too, which is big. It was off a corner, very, very late goal, or how it's been for Roma recently under De Rossi. They always seem to find a way to score towards the end of the game. Osimhen would, like, you know, breaking that penalty curse. Well, not breaking the penalty curse, but this time on the positive side of a penalty versus a negative side. He's usually on the bad end of those. And the Oliveira goal was kind of funny to see. I'm not gonna lie, that little like wee into the back of the net. You take those. Those. Like Villar pinched on that, but he wasn't expecting that to take a deflection. I forget who it deflected off. I don't think it deflected off Mancini. I'm trying to remember who it deflected off of, but either way, it just ended up in the back of the net. Dybala's goal was a very nice one. No, sorry, it was a penalty. When I say he took the penalty, it was Tammy's goal. That was a nice one. I'm thinking of Dybala's goal in the game before. That's why I'm mixing up my the one with the curl that he had. No, but his was a PK. Overall, a game that Roma knew that their only chance is to get them on the counter, and that's how they got the penalty goal and the corner goal. Napoli had to finish those chances. They had to finish those chances, and they couldn't. and that's why this game ended up as a draw. They still scored 2, which is still really great, but it could have been so much more. Zamboanguissa had a great run in that he just like whiffed on. Osimhen to Kvaratskhelia, like there was a great opportunity there. Never didn't find it back of the net. One of those games where the draw is not ideal for either team. Even for like a fan of both teams, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a draw, cool. But when you analyze it from both sides of the coin, you're like, yeah, draw's not great. It's not. So it's tough. Now Roma's got 4 games left in the season to not like to justify a top 4 spot instead of saying that, oh, you guys only got champions because of the fifth position spot. And especially with Atalanta, like 2 points behind them, that's something that with a game in hand, that's something to consider, because you could potentially find yourself outside of that Champions League spot because of recent performance. But under De Rossi, we've only had, I think, only like 2 losses so far, so it's not the worst. There's another squeak noise in the background by Toby the dog. Napoli still shaky form. It's frustrations. News of Conte coming to the team seems pretty crazy to me. I'm not going to believe, even though Rai was the one that reported it, I'm not going to believe it until they actually put like a photo of him pen to paper. Because for me, like him appearing at the stadium at the Stadio Diego Maradona is nothing. I need to see pen to paper him being and discussing him visiting the city, taking photos in the city. It's just it's nothing. I need to see that photo with the with Di Laurentiis,
the ADL tweet or whatever.
So. The ADL tweet, yeah. So for now, try to ride till the end of the season with Calzona. It sucks, man. It sucks because this team is capable of doing well, and every time they try to find some kind of ground underneath their feet, they just fall. They just stumble over their feet. So that's the only downside to it. I think in the long run, I would have preferred to see Napoli winning this game, just because I want to see them in a European spot. I've neither team is competing for the Scudetto, but I'd like to see both of them in some kind of European tournament next year. So I would have preferred a Napoli victory in this one. Draw is at least a point each, but it doesn't help out either team. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I think also just being clinical, like you said, Johnny, like the tale of 2 halves, I think, in the game, like Napoli had chances in the first, I believe it was the first half, that they should have finished and they did not. It becomes a late drama, and I honestly didn't think that goal was onside. I know we all kind of thought it might have been off, but it was just on. And credit to Tammy for being in that position. A player that hasn't seen the pitch in a long time. I think he's finally on the score sheet after almost a year, 360 something days or whatever, almost a year. So it was good for him, and I think. We've said it time and time again on the show. De Rossi has this team playing well, and I think it'll continue. How long, I don't know, but for what it is now, I think. I don't know what the points are, because I saw there's certain clubs that are, have officially qualified for Europe, and I'm pretty sure Roma's in that mix now. Is it going to be Champions? Is it going to be Europa? We shall see. But I think they're right there. They're in that 5th spot. If they reach Bologna or not, I don't know. Not that it doesn't matter, but I think as long as they get back into Champions, I think for them is a big plus, because it's a team that hasn't seen Champions in a while, and that Champions League experience for some of these young players. You guys changed over to Svilar. He's been saving all kinds. He's been really a really big not a new addition, but in terms of a new transfer, but finally getting minutes, finally showing what he's worth, I think has been huge under De Rossi, and he's been saving Roma time and time again. So to get these experiences in Champions League for some of these players on this team, I think helps keeping a hold of a guy like Dybala, which currently I think is Roma's prized possession. I think would be huge, and these types of players want to play in the highest of competitions, and that's Champions League. So we'll see. I know these last 4 or 5 games are going to be very, very close. We always say it. The end of the season is always very tight in Serie A, so I'm excited to see how that pans out.
Yeah, I mean, I know you kind of spoke about that Conte stuff, but how would that make you feel, Johnny? I know you just said you won't say anything until it's official, but got to feed families here, guys. This is our job. We got to speculate.
Him and ADL, are they going to kill each other, or are they going to make it till Christmas, or are they not? That's
hypothetical world. Conte goes to Napoli. How do you feel?
I would feel pretty excited about it. It'd be pretty cool to see Conte, a proven manager, manage Napoli. We've seen Ancelotti. The thing is, I've seen Ancelotti manage Napoli, and it didn't work out super well. It was going well in Champions League. He was beating Liverpool during their greater era, right? And not the start of their great era, not the tail end of it. And I felt like it was getting in after obviously he loses the room a bit and things don't come together. But now he's back to Real and winning Champions League over there because, it's the environment at Napoli. It's not really it's you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say it's Ancelotti being a terrible manager. So I would like to see Conte at the helm. A no bullshit type of manager like we had with Gattuso. It'd be fascinating. I want to see what he can do with trying to reestablish that core. Maybe try to convince some players to stay, and if players decide to leave, well, establish a new one. Identify what players are going to be part of a future core for Napoli. He's really good at establishing his system and just getting these diamonds out of the dirt, out of nowhere. We've talked about it before in his Euro 2016 run with Italy, the roster that he fielded and taking Germany to penalties to, and if they would have been idiots, they would have eliminated Germany and they would have gone to the semifinals with that kind of roster. So it's something that we have to consider. It's something that I feel like it's a good thing because he's able to, create, stars out of nothing. Stars, but I guess effective players is probably be a better way of saying it. So I'm excited for it if it does happen because it's a competent manager. It's not somebody just to fill in a spot. It's not a revolving door of managers. It's more like, okay, Conte's got a more permanent name to it, and it's going to be like a 3-year thing like he usually does. He stays for 3 years, then he ups and leaves, I doubt he stays beyond 3 years, but at least it gives De Laurentiis 3 years to either A, help Conte reestablish a core so that a stronger manager can come in and take them to the next level, or B, it helps De Laurentiis identify, okay, well, which players, of course, Toby has to start barking as soon as when I'm doing my little speech, or helps establish some kind,
Toby, what was
some
that?
kind of future for them.
I don't think Toby's a fan of Conte to Napoli.
No, I don't think so either. I think Toby's an Interista. That's why.
But one thing's for sure. I mean, Conte is definitely whoever he goes to, and I know there's speculation with Milan a bit as well. But he's definitely going to whip whatever team he goes to. He's going to whip those players into shape. That's for sure. These guys are going to really know what training is, and it's the one thing. Even though it might be going a bit too far in certain cases, I think it's the one thing that what you're going to get with Conte. Your team is going to be fit. Your team is going to be ready to go. Tactic wise, if you like it or not, it is what it is. That's everybody's preference. But proven manager, like Jenny said, I think is a good word. Obviously, he's been around. He's won. He's coached and managed top clubs around Europe. So I'm interested to see. I personally, him and ADL, I think that's just going to be like Liauto Go is going to have a field day with him and ADL if that were to happen. So we'll see. I don't know if they'll make it past Christmas, but it would be interesting. Another thing, Jenny, I don't know if Toby's still barking, but because you're on mute, but I wanted to say, obviously if Conte were to come in, and this is still in the hypothetical world before we go on to other topics, you know, he's going to obviously want his players. He's going to obviously want certain guys, accustomed to everywhere he goes. He wants his core guys. He's going to pressure management to give him the funds to buy these players and for him to take a team to the level that he thinks they can go to. Like, doesn't Osimhen still go? Like, with if that were to happen, like, obviously that's a big fund. I don't know. He's kind of dipped in form, so I don't know if he's as hard as he's not really that prized possession that everybody was ranting and raving with last year, even though he's still obviously incredibly talented and still has it in him. But if Conte were to come in, do you think an Osimhen still goes in the summer?
So I kind of agree with your point that Conte has his players and he wants to get those type of players. And obviously, De Laurentiis is going to have to get these players for him. The easiest way to do that is to fund it through a sale of Osimhen, But recent reports have stated that right now there's no interest for Osimhen because his price tag's a little high because he renewed. Sorry, I tried to hold it a sneeze. I apologize.
No problem.
It's because when he renewed his contract, his release clause is somewhere between, I think, the 120 to 150.
Yeah.
So no team is willing to pay that much for Osimhen. I don't think Osimhen would be too excited to be spending another year in Napoli. Maybe he might be convinced to stay to give it one shot under Conte, see where it goes, because Conte is a proven manager and is a respectful manager in terms of achievements. So, I think he probably might give it just one more year under Conte. Scalia is rumored to be looking around too, but everybody's looking to be moved around and stuff, and everyone's looking to be shopped around. So. It's going to be tough. I think De Laurentiis is going to have to set the expectations for Conte and be like, look, you're coming into a team that, we won the Scudetto last year, but, we were a shell of our, emotionally, and our back line is just a shell of what we were. It's like he knows coming into this situation that the team is looking from the outside in terms of any European competition. There's potential that Napoli doesn't play any European competition at all next year. And that has to be considered. Does Conte want to have a year of no Europe? Probably, but with 1 year of no Europe, that means you have 1 year of not getting additional funding to buy players that you want. So it's a big ask for Antonio Conte, for Antonio Conte. It's a big ask for him to be like, hey, this is our situation. We have a plan. We would like to achieve it, but it's not ideal for either the players or for a manager. What say you, type of thing. So we'll see. It all depends. It's hard because what happens if they spend that whole summer not getting any players for Conte as he wants, and then the last day of the mercato, a team swoops in and offers that 150 mil for Osimhen, and they can negotiate a contract. It's like, well, great, you got your funding, but the mercato's closed, and you have to make some deals for the winter to happen. So it's shitty, but that's neither here nor there. We're not at that point yet. I think right now the best course of action going into it is just set the expectation for Conte being like, there's potential that we have money with the sale of some players, or there's a potential that we have no money because we're not in Champions League. We don't have Osimhen being sold. And, we have a roster that's good, but we need to find a way to get that motivation and spark again. So it's a project for Conte. And if he's able to, I think one of the things that might, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but if there's a factor that will persuade him, it's the fact that he can actually, if he says that he comes and he takes a roster and turns it around instead of establishing one, I think it's bigger than building one up. Like if you manage to take a current roster that's all out of whack and then turn them around and make them realize okay, maybe this isn't a project we should give up on. I think that speaks a bit more than just going for your specific players that are already buying into your system and, just establishing it right away. I think that speaks a bit more. So I think that might be attractive to him. Plus he gets to come back to Italy, but for less money.
Yeah, he wants that. He wants that for sure. You can tell, he said it, that I'm pretty sure that, he wants to come back and coach in Italy. It's interesting, man. And you know what? I commend Napoli ADL really going hard after a guy like Conte because, these types of managers, they don't come around all too often to be available at the times that you kind of need a manager or somebody to fill in, for your club. So I don't know. We'll see. I know there's definitely still speculations of him, going to other places, but it seems like ADL is really, really pushing for Conte to come. And if it happens, I think, even with no Europe, if that were to happen, again, we're still talking all hypotheticals here, guys. But Conte could really push Napoli for, even with some additional players, I think can definitely push harder for not only a top 4 finish, but really pushing for that first place, and really battling and not making it such a landslide in between 1 and 2. So. Because he's really going to have to only focus on Serie A if that were to be the case. So obviously you want to be in some sort of European competition for the funds. I get that. But at the same time, I think trying to baby step your way back to where you were last season, I think can also be an alternative for this Napoli, because we see it. We've said it on the show, guys. Napoli just wants this season to end. Like they're ready to go. They're ready to get the summer going, get the Mercato on, see who comes in, if it's Conte or whoever else, and, start fresh come the summer.
Adri, both me and you, our clubs, we have, future coaching decisions to make. I mean, we don't have decisions to make, but our clubs do. We'll talk about that soon, but 0-0 Milan Juve. It's got to be the friendliest derby in Calcio because, before the game, Juve's posting all these pictures, all these historic players of Juve and Milan. Everyone's excited. Beautiful derby. It has to be the friendliest derby, and people make fun of it because Juve and Milan fans generally get along well, especially when it comes to our hate for Inter. But on the pitch, I think perfect example of where our clubs are at. The Allegri out, Pioli out camps were all over it on Saturday. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the first half. I was changing tires. I got to see the second half. Apparently changing tires was probably better than the first half, though. That's what I was told. Second half was fine. Juve had a couple of chances, but typical Juve fashion, they failed to put away their chances and they failed to get 3 points. And it feels like it's been the story of the season. There was a couple of plays where they had chances, either passed it up or just didn't pass it instead. There was one particular play with Yildiz who was running an open space and he was caught down quickly, but I forget whom. And, it's just one of those plays where you have all that space, man. You got to use your speed. You got to maintain that space. You can't be caught up by the defender. Just frustrating all around. Not surprised by it. I mean, I would have expected a draw, maybe a typical 1-1 draw, but 0-0, it's exactly how both teams are playing. I don't know if you saw it differently, Adri.
Yeah, no, listen, I think we summed it up perfectly in terms of it was the derby della snooze fest. You could have slept through the match. You maybe I don't know, you had a crazy Friday, and you didn't wake up in time, even though it was I think a noon game here in the East Coast, but and slept through it. You would have been perfectly fine. You wouldn't have missed anything, but it's unfortunate because I think these teams. Even though there's nothing to play for, like we said last week, and we all know that, still nothing changed. Like this could have either on one side, on Milan's side, could have, separated themselves further away from Juve to really claim second place. With 4 games left going into after this past weekend, or Juve could have closed that gap a bit more on Milan and claimed. Had more of a chance to claim second place. Now we enter the weekend 5-point difference. We leave the weekend still 5-point difference. 4 games left to play. I think both teams will be playing in Europe, in one shape or form, come next season. From what I've saw on social media, but it's just not good enough. I think it was just one of those games where Juve had chances on target. I don't even think Milan had a chance on target. They had 9 shots. I don't think any of them were on the target from my recollection. you can't win games like that in any sport. Hockey, football, soccer, basketball, whatever you want. You're not going to get anywhere with no shots on target. So it was frustrating. I didn't know what to expect because I knew there was going to be a bit of a makeshift formation. With having three players out for Milan. Not having Calabria, Teo, and Tomori. I knew the defense was going to be a bit of a makeshift defense. Did we expect Magnato to feel something off, in the pregame warmups? No. Sportiello comes in and honestly, man of the match. Saved Milan plenty of times. The double save there on, I think it was Danilo there, was incredible when he was down. I think he saved it. I think he saved it with his face, if I'm not mistaken. He really put himself out there. So, we can't ask for much more on that end. We just couldn't get anything going offensively. It seems like, again, I think all our teams, maybe besides Roma, because they've been actually playing and they have stuff to play for. I think we still all do have things to play for in terms of really solidifying our places in the table. But, Milan, Juve, I think just want to, again, and we said it last week and previous weeks, like they want to get this season over with and call it a season. We know where we're going to finish more or less. Let's wrap it up and start fresh come the summertime. It seems, I know it sounds redundant, guys, but it really seems to be the case with these teams, which is sad because, I don't think there's 4 games left, 5 for some teams, and things aren't officially solidified in terms of position. You want to finish as high as possible, no matter what the season turned out to be. I think a bit of pride is needed come this business end of the season where there's not much to play for. And yeah, listen, I'm upset. It's upsetting. It's disappointing. People are going to blame Pioli. People are going to continue to blame Pioli. People are going to blame Leao. People are going to blame, the different players, the different top players, on the team. But I think it's a collective effort. I think nobody really showed it, and it's a shame. But again, we'll take the point. I heard, I think Magnan might be out for another week. I think Loftus-Cheek might be out as well for a week or so. So we'll see. I just want to finish as high as possible and kind of just with a bit of pride before changes happen. And we're talking about Conte to Napoli. I know there was the rumors there for Milan as well. Fans are protesting against Lopetegui for the next manager spot. Again, it's I don't want to get down this rabbit hole of a mess that just kind of ruins what we have going on, because I think, again, like Napoli, like even Juventus, and these other teams, that there is a core there. There is something to work off of. There is talent on the rosters. Are they there physically and mentally? No, but I think there is pieces to work with and pieces to go into the future with whomever the new managers will be. So I feel like the three of us are kind of in the same boat for the most part, and we'll see how it goes. But not an atmosphere and not a game where, when you see Juve Milan or Milan Juve, wherever the game is, it's like you wake up for these types of games. You're excited that it's on the calendar. You want to watch these games. It didn't even matter if you watched it or not. Nothing really happened. So, and there's not really much to recap. So we go on. Like I said, 4 more games, and we'll see how this end of the season pans out for Milan and for the rest of our teams.